Now then, with me now are two fabulous guests to talk through the papers. Alison Stewart-Allen from International Marketing Partners and the journalist Bidisha. So welcome back to both of you. We've got a lot to get through, so let's kick off, shall we? And front pages of, I think, pretty much all the papers are dominated by what's going on in Gaza. The Daily Telegraph you've picked out, Alison, their headline is Israel's ground forces advance on Gaza, and we've been trying to pick up with our teams what that's actually translated to on the ground there. But tell us what your take on this is.
Yeah, well, firstly, it's knocked out mobile phone services, internet. It's seen as an indication that a bigger ground offensive is on the way. But for me as a business sort of analyst, for company leaders, all of these front pages are really telling us we need to really pay attention to geopolitics much more. One of the things I know, certainly from the conversations with my own clients, is that they are employing increasingly people from all sorts of, well-known security service companies to help them plot how do we navigate these situations. So if you are a business doing, have a company presence in Gaza, in Israel, in Ukraine, in Russia, and a lot of other hotspots, how do we navigate the uncertainty that's around this situation? So while we're bombarded, so to speak, with these news stories now, especially in this part of the world, and the propensity to involve other countries around Israel and Gaza, you still have to continue to run a profitable enterprise. So I think the challenge is not just the literal story, but what do we do about it? What are the implications on our enterprise, on our staff in these parts of the world?
Yeah.
So increasingly, we need to pay much more attention to global events. I think that's the message I take away from these front pages today.
And inevitably, the main attention is on those affected and caught up with it, but the ripples run
Absolutely.
deep, is what you're saying.
Yes, they do.
Yeah,
they do.
Okay, and take us to the Times, Bidisha, because they are also picking up on the story obliquely, you could say. I mean, there are protests that are planned again today. There were protests last week in London and other cities as well, in support of the Palestinians. Yeah. But what is the Times saying?
This is a very interesting statement that's been made by counter-terrorism police in the UK, talking about the threat of Iran. Now, I'm saying that with deliberate cynicism in my voice, simply because whenever you have statements from the counter-terrorism police, I always think there's something more behind it. So they clearly know something that they're not releasing to the public. The way I'm interpreting what they've said about, watch out for Iranian voices supporting the Palestinian cause, actually what I take from it is this. It's exactly what you say, which is, today, this will be the third consecutive week of pro-Palestinian rights protests. The last one was well over 100,000 protesters. And the counter-terrorism police, all the authorities, however you want to interpret it, are saying, be careful, we too have a presence on the ground. That's how I would interpret it. Even though they are not saying you don't have the right to protest, human protest is enshrined within the law, even though there are moves to limit that, but those moves haven't gone through yet. But I think it's really a very clear line from the government saying, even if you're out on the streets protesting pro-Palestinian rights, we too are doing our own work at the same time. It's a reflection of the fact that this has caused so much turmoil and upset and worry, because of course these protests aren't just happening in the UK. So I think it's just something to watch. And they do point out to exactly what Alison was saying, which is there's a wider geopolitical implication to all of this. And the word that's on everyone's lips, or the question on any political analyst's lips, is if other countries, third and fourth party players get involved, are we just waiting for the shoe to drop? Are we just waiting for the UN to say, okay, we're in, World War III now, or we're in the new version of the World War, which is multiple conflicts happening simultaneously, along with civil wars happening simultaneously, along with the fallout from fragile states and failed uprisings over the last 15 years. Is this what war looks like in the 21st century?
Yeah, so many very big questions and worrying times. Let's go to a completely different subject, shall we? This is inside the Telegraph.
Yeah.
And it's about Taylor Swift.
It is about Taylor Swift, and what an amazing accomplishment. Firstly, she's a billionaire at 33.
Officially,
not too
won
bad.
that status, hasn't she? Yeah.
Absolutely smart in so many ways. Firstly, she's very smart about controlling her intellectual property. So she's re-recording all of her music so that she has control of the intellectual property. She owns it. Smart lady. She gets great advice, but she's also got her own intelligence on all of this. This puts her, according to the Telegraph, it puts her ahead of Beyonce, Madonna, and Lady Gaga in terms of her earnings, which is no mean feat. And Bloomberg has calculated that her net worth is a function of her music catalog, 5 properties, earnings from streaming deals, music sales, concert tickets, and merch. So clearly Taylor Swift as an enterprise, and the Eras Tour movie, by the way, that's also a huge earner, as well as the tour itself. I think this is just such an inspiring story in a lot of ways, because the music industry, like the entertainment industry, like the news industry, is intensely competitive, and not, getting through and cutting through, especially as a young woman. That's another sort of, for me, it's a big tick in the box.
Yeah.
I just think this is really inspiring, and hopefully it makes a lot of other people stick with it, because she was persistent, and this shows that persistence does pay off.
Very savvy and pretty brave at speaking out about what she believes in as well, isn't she?
Yes.
Yeah. Have you been to see her live?
I have not yet. I'm not a Swiftie yet, but reading this, I might soon be.
My kind of gal, you think?
Exactly.
We are sadly out of time, but you are both coming back again in the next hour. So, we got one more story, I'm told. Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought we were out of time. We've got one more story, Bidisha. We're talking about Amazon next.
Oh, I was just going to say I'm going to see the Eras Tour film with my friend Debbie next week.
Oh, there you go. Next best thing.
Great.
Just when Alison was talking, I was thinking that many of Taylor Swift's fans access her music and her films through Amazon, and this news story gives the alternative side of it, which is that Amazon workers are planning protests and strikes across 30 different countries. It's very rare for a company, a retail company, to attract this much opprobrium and controversy. But the workers are striking because Amazon cleared nearly $150 billion of revenue in the most recent accounting period, and yet for years no one has been able to ignore the fact that workers in these gigantic warehouses have been complaining about a raft of things that they're subjected to: surveillance, how many times you can package up the package within a minute or so, conditions, pay, benefits, being punished, attrition and retribution, and union busting. There have been so many documentaries about it, and the fact that these protests are happening across 30 different countries really says that this is clearly a common grievance, and that it's not to do with an individual country's Amazon practices or culture. It's something to do with the company itself.
And I should say that the Amazon spokesman who's quoted in this article says, we offer great pay and benefits and provide a modern and safe working environment which anyone is welcome to see. So obviously they would defend themselves. We are actually out of time now. I've got it right this time. But you'll both be back in the next hour, so thank you for the moment.
Great, thank you.
Now, around a third of...
The heart.